Check it out.
Woo! All right. Man, oh man, it cannot get here soon enough. Opening weekend of college football season, the Ole Miss Rebels will take on the Louisville Cardinal in Atlanta on Monday. Mercedes-Benz Georgia Dome. How about that? U of L and the Ole Miss Rebels. Now, we know that Ole Miss returns the best quarterback in the Southeastern Conference and one of the best in the country, right? Up there with Spencer Rattler from Oklahoma and maybe a couple others. And there's a lot of optimism in Oxford, even more so than usual with this team. And they had a nice year last year. And then can they parlay that into a special season in Oxford with Matt Corral? This will be his last season in Oxford. We'll see. In other words, can the defense just get a little bit better, opportunistic, to where they can really, really show out and show up and go to an awesome bowl game and so on? We'll see. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We want to welcome in David Johnson. He joins us on the Modelo guest line. David, DJ, Rebels 247, obviously. DJ, so Kiffin seemed frustrated with the defense. We all know Ole Miss is going to be good on offense. Maybe unbelievable, maybe, special. But the expectations are that the defense will get better. Obviously, there's time to do that. What did you make of Kiffin's frustration over the weekend?
Well, first of all, everything you said about Matt Corral and that offense, I believe to be true. At this point of fall camp, I've really never seen a unit in camp go through the first week, look as well-oiled and as primed as Matt Corral and the Ole Miss offense did. You didn't have dumb penalties. You had near-perfect execution, and they rolled that into yesterday's scrimmage. Now, as far as the defense goes, if they're middle of the pack, this is going to be an Ole Miss team that's going to have to be reckoned with. But, yesterday morning made me feel like, one of those times where you've got fancy dinner reservations and you put on your best suit and you put on your best shoes and you've got your girl on the arm and you go to the 5-star restaurant in a horse and carriage and you go in there and sit down and they give you a Big Mac, paper and all. I mean, it was bad. There's no other way to say it. Equally as bad. And I think, my throat fell so far down in my stomach because I was like, oh, my God. This is a replay of what we've seen the last 5 years. Defensive optimism and then thud. So that's kind of where I'm at on this Monday morning with things. Their offense, it's going to be good. It's going to be as good as advertised. Defensively, I just don't know after watching what I saw yesterday.
Interesting. DJ Durkin's got his hands full. It's not all DJ's fault. Obviously, some of this is recruiting. Ole Miss has crushed it on the offensive side, and there's been some hits, but there's been some misses on the defensive side.
And we all have bad days. I'm having one right now. But,
Oh, I understand that. There's times when I do this show, I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, I may have caught them on a bad day yesterday morning, but from what you saw, you heard Lane Kiffin afterwards. The guy barely raised his head at the press conference. If you look at the video, it was disheartening. I think it was disheartening for everyone.
All right, so there's time to get better. Let's just start with the front seven. Do we have some difference makers there on the defense? Legitimate. Yeah. Do we have legitimate difference makers in the front seven?
I think you've got a couple of guys that have the potential to, Bo, with Sam Williams, Tariqius Tisdale. There are more bodies up front. But, at this juncture of, 1 week into camp, I really can't declare anybody else as being difference makers. Really, that's from the front in the trenches all the way to the back end of this defense. There are tons of bodies and a lot of new faces. But, I didn't see anybody make a huge difference on Sunday, when we watched the full pad scrimmage. And again, everybody can have a bad day, and it may have just been a collectively bad day for the Ole Miss defense. But, the first play from scrimmage, it was corral to Braylon Sanders for 65 yards. Okay, that kind of set the tone. Now, those two are going to do that to a lot of teams this year. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But first drive from scrimmage for the first-team offense, 3 plays to the end zone. Second drive for the first-team offense, 3 plays to the end zone. That kind of set how the day was going to go right there, and it didn't disappoint. It was like that way the rest of the way.
All right. What do you think's realistic? Like, they can jump up 20 – they were 100 and something. They can jump up – here's the deal. You can jump up pretty easily 20 to 25 to 30 spots when you're that bad overall.
Yeah.
Is that almost a layup that they'll do that? That they'll move up, that many spots? David, what do you see there?
I just don't know, because it's I'll go back to what Lane Kiffin said yesterday. It's a catch-22. You go out there and you watch that yesterday and you go, man, this offense is the best thing since sliced bread. Forget Eric Coryell. This is going to be unbelievable in Oxford this year. But then you look at the defense and you go, oh. And it leaves you pondering, is Ole Miss that good offensively, or is Ole Miss that bad defensively? The answer probably lies somewhere in the middle, Bo.
Sure.
But it's just still too early to tell. I don't know if we'll know for sure until after that Louisville game on September 6th.
I don't know if y'all have to play defense on that game. I still think you win, and it doesn't matter. But, yeah, I guess you will find out a little bit more. And I'm not sure Ole Miss is going to get tested in those first 3 games, then take a week off, but then you go to Bama. I wouldn't be surprised if Kiffin boat races everybody to start the season, and then the week off, and then that 5-game stretch after the week off is the telltale.
Well, that seems to be the consensus around here, that those first 3 games are just, kind of throwaways. Let's go get the W's. I'm going to issue a warning right now. Watch out for the Louisville game. That is a well-coached football team.
Oh, no doubt.
A dynamic quarterback who can make plays against a defense that we don't think is very good. And, Louisville, if you look back last year, Bo, I think they went 4-7. That could have easily been a 7-4, 8-3 team. They were in some hard-fought ball games, almost beat Notre Dame. So I'm not ready to declare that one a cakewalk just yet. But, I get what you're saying. Yeah, ought to be 3-0 playing Alabama.
Okay. Let's go to the offensive side of the football. We're visiting with DJ David Johnson, Rebels 247 Sports. He joins us on the Modelo guest line. Okay, so what do you make of John Rice Plumlee and his new position? I know it's early, but his new position so far.
Yeah, I think he's going to be fine there. He's going to be more than fine there. They are they're going to find ways to get the ball in his hands. And he's the same guy he was in 2019 once he gets football in his hands. So, he's going to be a dynamic playmaker. I think that's been a smart move. I look around the slot position, and I think they're deep at the slot. The biggest concern over the offseason has been the departure of Elijah Moore. That's what everybody wants to talk about. They've got talent at the slot. They've got talent on the edges. Wide receiver talent, I'm not really concerned about. You look at that slot. You got John Rice Plumlee there. You have Jacour Pearson, very capable playmaker, transferred from Western Kentucky, and then Jerrion Ely. They're going to play Ely in the slot. They're going to play Henry Parrish in the slot. So they're going to keep talent in the slot. I think John Rice is probably going to lead the way there. but he's going to have plenty of help from his friends.
How do you see Ely's snaps allocated between slot and running back?
Well, I watched the scrimmage Sunday morning, and Ely did not get one single handoff. Now, Henry Parrish only got two. I think it was by design. They lightened the load for their two best running backs. But I think you're going to see him. He's going to be running back one, I believe. Lane Kiffin hasn't said that, but I think Jerrion Ely will be running back one. But I think you'll probably see him over there probably 30% of the time. It wouldn't surprise me. 30% of his snaps coming in the slot.
Okay. And then Parrish, how do you see that between running back and slot? DJ?
Yeah, I could kind of see the same kind of ball distribution there.
Okay.
I really could. With John Rice Plumlee and Jacour Pearson, the other two guys that you'll primarily see in the slot.
Okay. And then, so Sanders is he's the biggest playmaker as far as the wide receivers as a whole? Yes or no?
Yeah, he was last year too. He averaged more than 26 yards per catch. Problem is, he was hurt so much he only had 14 catches. So, this year, obviously the plan, number one, is to keep him healthy. Because I'm going to tell you, I watched him do some DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown stuff yesterday, and I have been watching him do that all week long. To me, the one kid I saw last season versus seeing him at fall camp right now that's made the greatest strides on this football team is Braylon Sanders. He's out leaping people for balls. He's out muscling people for balls. He's out racing people to the end zone. He's doing everything you want him to do. Great hands. He's a smart football player. He's in his fifth year here. And Lane Kiffin, last week, had no qualms in going, look, Braylon is a first-round draft pick. Kiffin ought to know. He knows better than I do. But I've just seen Braylon Sanders just kind of posterizing people all week at camp. Again, is Braylon Sanders great, or do they have trouble covering Braylon Sanders? We've still got to find out the answers to all that. But Braylon Sanders, he's my guy right now. If he stays healthy, I think he's going to have a big year.
So Kiffin referenced him as a potential first-round pick?
Absolutely, certainly did on Thursday. He said he thought Braylon Sanders was a first-round pick.
That's incredible. If he's a second-round pick, tip of the cap to Kiffin. That's a big deal. Okay. DJ David Johnson on the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, WRKS. You can watch the show right now on Facebook. Search the Out of Bounds Show. DJ joins us on the Modelo guest line. Do you think the offensive line will be better, as good, or a slight step back without Newman?
That's a great question, Bo. And I'm going to tell you, nobody knew how good Royce Newman was. When I say nobody, the fans did not know how good Royce Newman was until Mel Kiper started talking about Royce Newman. Nobody watches the offensive line play, right? You follow the football. That's what everybody does. So I'm going to say that, all this preseason talk, oh, my God, they're going to miss Elijah Moore. They're going to miss Royce Newman. They're going to miss Royce Newman, right? Anchoring the right side of that offensive line. It's not that I'm not bullish on Jeremy James being able to get the job done, because I think he can. But Royce Newman was one of the best offensive tackles in all of college football that nobody really cared to recognize for a long time. And you're going to miss Royce Newman. Other than that, I think it's capable of being one of the best units, because I do have confidence in Jeremy James, who I think is the best NFL prospect on that Ole Miss offensive line, but he's the guy nobody talks about. He's going to fill those shoes fine. You've got Nick Broker at left tackle, Ben Brown at right guard. You've got Caleb Warren, second year to be a starter, over at left guard. And then they go out in the offseason and they fix the only spot that they really have concern with, and they bring in Utah center Orlando Amana. So he's going to start at center. So that's your first five right there. As solid of a group, I think, as you'll find from left to right in the SEC. Where Ole Miss's issues could develop on the offensive line is depth at the tackle spots. There's no proven tackle depth behind Broker and James, and I think that's where they really have to take the most strides in camp, if you will. They've got a kind of a boatload of depth at the interior positions at guard and center. A lot of guys there, but you just don't see those guys out of the tackles, and I think that's something that they're going to have to get done before the season starts. Develop depth at the tackles.
Okay, so offensive tackle depth, but the starting five looks really good. DJ David Johnson, Rebels 247 on the Modelo guest line. What about some young guys that may be thrown in the mix? Give me one or two names.
Yeah, I think you start on the defensive side of the ball where opportunity abounds. Tyshim Johnson, a safety back there, he has looked very good. I think that you'll see him and a couple other of those freshmen work their way into at least some kind of rotational duty on the back end of that defense. This is going to sound crazy with all the big-name freshmen and everybody that are in there. But the one true freshman that has impressed not only me, but I think the coaches, which that's what matters the most during first week of fall camp, the kid that's gained the most ground is a Jackson area kid, and his name is Rafe Vincent.
From MRA?
From MRA. Let me tell you, I can tell you unequivocally, they think they got a major steal in Rafe Vincent from MRA, who, as far as FBS programs go, nobody really wanted coming out of high school.
No, he was going to the Air Force Academy, I think, for a while.
Yeah.
And then right at the end, he decided to take a preferred walk-on from Kiffin. Isn't that correct, DJ?
That is exactly right. And let me tell you, when the head football coach of an SEC team walks into a press conference the first week of fall camp, and he's talking about a walk-on true freshman, you know the kid's special. You know the kid's special. Lane Kiffin did that this week, talking about the competition Rafe Vincent is creating inside the wide receivers room at Ole Miss. And, I think the kid's already in a spot where he's going to contribute this year, definitely on special teams. But don't be surprised to see Rafe Vincent from MRA, that no FBS program in the country other than Air Force wanted to play. Maybe he had a few more offers. I'm going to say Power 5 program. He's making waves. That's the kid that has kind of stolen the show week one.
That's pretty exciting. Yeah, look, I watched him at MRA. He is a hell of a football player and competitor, among other things, and he was one of the main guys that drove them to going undefeated last year.
He showed up in Oxford with his cleats on, and he's kicking tail out there, and
good for him.
That's just exciting to see because these schools miss a lot of kids every year, and
sure.
It's always great to see the ones they miss that go on to be successful.
All right, well, we'll leave it there. So Rafe Vincent, there's some buzz around the Madison Ridgeland Academy, former MRA player, true freshman, was going to the Air Force Academy, decided to take a preferred walk-on from Ole Miss and Kiffin, and he will play on special teams this year and maybe even
maybe more. Yeah.
And maybe more. That's pretty cool right there. All right, DJ, here we go. We get closer, a little bit closer every day. We appreciate your time. We'll catch up again next week. Thank you, man.
Hey, Bo. Always appreciate you. Thank you.
David Johnson, Rebels 247, DJ hanging out with us on the Modelo guest line. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. So we had two really good updates for you today. Coming out of the weekend, scrimmages in Stark Vegas and Oxford. I was in Starkville. I wasn't at the scrimmage. That probably doesn't surprise you. Blake was supposed to go, and he no-showed. But anyway, I did go to 44 Prime, new restaurant in Starkville. It's a really good steakhouse. It's great. It's cool.
Can't wait for you to take me.
I'll do that.
I know. That's why I said
I'll do that.
you have to.
It's the decor and everything is really, really cool. Food was great, and you'll enjoy it. So 2 new restaurants pop up in Starkville. That only makes Starkville kind of food scene better. And same owners. I mean, we had Roy Oswalt in studio, right? What was that, last week or the week before, Blake?
2 weeks
Okay.
ago? Yeah.
Roy Oswalt, who played for the Houston Astros from, where did I say? Where?
That's correct.
Yeah. He and Chef Craig Fant are the owners of Taste and 44 Prime. So you got 2 new options in Stark Vegas, Mississippi. And we did hit the 44 Prime, and it was good. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, WRKS. What else do we have here, Blake? There's a great article that I didn't have an opportunity to get to, but I will at some point. It's on The Athletic this morning, theathletic.com. And it's by Jason Jenks, I guess. And it's called All the Motives Are the Same. They're Spelled Greed, a history of college football realignment angst. And it walks you through how A&M, or one of their board of regents in 1994, wanted A&M to move to the SEC, not what was eventually the Big 12. So they're in the Southwest Conference. There's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
And they, I'm not saying everybody did, but he saw the writing on the wall.
Incredible, too, at that time.
It really is. He was, former Speaker of the House. Then he was on the Board of Regents of A&M, and he was trying to talk people in the state of Texas into allowing A&M and Texas to go. But guess what happened? The legislators who had ties to Texas Tech and Baylor were like, no. If you ever want any kind of appropriations, taxpayer money to fund your university, then no. And at that time, A&M was trying to get an arena built, and they didn't have the votes. And the Speaker of the House at that time said, "I'll get them for you."
Incredible.
And so they went reluctantly. A&M went reluctantly to the Big 12. Of course, they joined the Southeastern Conference several years later. Now Texas and Oklahoma will be new members in the next. I think it's sooner than later, as soon as they pay all the attorneys and figure out a dollar figure to pay the Big 12. It's a good piece, though. It's well worth reading. Dak Prescott's going to practice today. I haven't looked. They may have already announced something on Jordan Davis and his injury in Starkville. It doesn't look good. He's starting defensive lineman. Many people thought NFL caliber talent, and he was hurt over the weekend. So we'll see what happens there. Thanks for listening to the show. We've got the National Championship Trophy, Mississippi State Baseball Trophy in studio. We'll pick 4 listeners to come up, and we'll pick 4 tomorrow. Thanks for listening to the show. Hit the podcast. Apple Podcast. Search the Out of Bounds Show. See you tomorrow.